world is becoming more unglued by the day. Local consequences are now showing up. We are seeing sky-high gas prices, higher food prices, shortages, and more. How should you respond? Go to redpills.tv/patriot. That's redpills.tv/patriot. And secure your long-term emergency food storage from My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply is by far the largest preparedness company in America. They're in stock and shipping quickly in unmarked boxes to your door. Their emergency food supplies last up to 25 years in storage. When you need it, it'll be there. Lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories a day. Get free shipping on any order over $99. Again, go to redpills.tv/patriot.
From the spaceship in the sky to the simulation in the mind. Let's all embark on another journey of Conversations on the Fringe.
Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. That is my co-host for the night, Vince Tagliavia. This is Conversations on the Fringe. This is where we talk about all those things that are weird, wacky, unusual, on the fringe, outside of normal conversations that, people just don't have anymore. The purpose of this show is really to just kick back, relax, have that popcorn, and forget about all the other things that are happening in the world, because it is a very tumultuous time in the world. We did have a guest scheduled for tonight, Ben Stewart. He called me last minute yesterday. We talked for a little while. He had something big come up, and I'm like, dude, you have to go to that. I'm like, don't worry about the show. We'll reschedule you. Go and do that. So he's like, man, I appreciate it. No problem. So he's going to be on with us in a few weeks here. But we decided to do something we haven't done in a while, considering it's Vincey's birthday. And we're celebrating Vincey's birthday. We did an Insomniac Hour a while back where we did open lines where people could call in through Zoom and basically, tell us their stories, ghost stories, UFO stories, paranormal, fringe stories, whatever it might be. And so we're going to be doing that again tonight. As well, you guys can ask us questions. You guys can, ask if Vince is single and all those things if you wanted to do that. He's young. But this is how it works. So if you go to the description and wherever you're watching, there should be a series of phone numbers. And then below that, there's going to be a code. Now, when you call in, okay, you're going to hear a prompt for the meeting ID. You put in the meeting ID. Then it's going to ask you for like a user ID. Just hit pound to skip over the second menu option and then put in the passcode, okay? So it's that one number, then hit pound, then hit pound again, and then put in the passcode and hit pound. And we'll bring you guys in one at a time. No, I'm not single. And we'll bring you guys in one at a time, and we'll get started. So the open lines are open right now. So if you guys want to call in, you can go there. They're also posted on the social Repill. And so I'm going to go over to the social Red Pill, make sure that all that information is there as well. I posted them on Pilled. I posted them on CloutHub. I posted them on Rumble. They are posted on Facebook. They are posted on Red Pills TV. So all those numbers are there. And so this is call-in numbers right now. Call-in numbers for Fringe. So guys, feel free. Who wants to be first? Who wants to jump in? And then right at the bottom, you're going to see meeting ID. And then you're going to see meeting ID. Then hit pound. Then hit pound again. Then passcode pound. All right. So there are the call-in numbers. We're going to send that out to everybody who's on the social Red Pill. I'm not seeing anybody come in, so I might as well just get started it. I had an amazing Red Pill moment this last week.
You did?
I did. And, everybody's heard of simulation theory, and it's something that I've thought for a long time in the sense that this universe quite possibly could be a simulation. If you didn't know, Elon Musk proposes this, saying that there is a 1 in a billion chance that this is not a simulation. And it's quite interesting. I disagree with that. I completely disagree with that that assumption. Well, let me explain my thoughts on simulation first, right? So firstly, if we build a computer program, right? So let's build a computer program, and it's a three-dimensional computer program that has a construct. You go in there, it has a set of rules, laws, and boundaries, and you can interact with this construct, right?
Okay, I'm following.
Okay. So we're trying to say, or scientists are proposing today, that the universe itself could possibly be one of these simulations, one of these constructs. Well, see, the thinking, in my opinion, is completely reversed, because the universe is this creation of reality, right? Now, the universe operates on certain laws, principles, and fundamentals.
True.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the universe brings about, you have these small little fluctuations of vibrations at the Planck's length, right? These small little quanta of energy that transfer back and forth in packets of information. These come together and formulate subatomic particles. The subatomic particles come together and form atoms. Atoms resonate and vibrate with each other, and they come together, they reject and repel each other. But, in a... Oh, we got a caller. We'll get the caller in just 1 second. So caller will be with you in just 1 second. So these come together, right? And they form molecules, and the molecules form basically everything that we see in the material world universe, right? So now think about this. So if I'm going to go out there and I'm going to build a silicon wafer, a circuit card, an IC card, what am I using?
That, exactly.
You're using those molecules, those atoms, to develop that, which means that the circuitry of your computer system is built on the same fundamental laws and principles as the universe has originally derived. So that means that anything that's built inside that construct, inside that simulation of that computer system that you're building, is built upon the same fundamental laws, rules, so forth of the universe that you built. So therefore, the simulation becomes a very fundamental or elementary universe, not the other way around. The universe isn't going to become a simulation. The simulation becomes a very rudimentary universe.
Yes, and it becomes more and more rudimentary if that simulation were to make another simulation within it.
That's right.
It would become more and more confined by nature.
That's right, confined by the nature of the pre-existing one, and that one of the pre-existing real one, or how many sub-levels it is. But either way, they still become rudimentary universes, or universes within the universe. It just because it doesn't have all the bells and the whistles of the original universe, that's just a programming problem. It's still based upon the same laws, fundamentals, principles, etc. And so we have to look at it differently. But let's go to this caller, and I think what we do is let's go to this caller, and then we can continue with this conversation, or I can come back to it. You're just going to have to remind me. All right. Let's go to this caller and bring them in right now. All right, caller, you are on the air with Vince and Josh. Where are you calling from, and what's your name? Please mute the background, please. If you got us in the background. Yep, you got to mute the background.
Yep, I've got it. I got it muted.
Right.
Josh, it's Melissa.
Hi,
from
Melissa.
Darlin Mel on Twitter or wherever.
Hi, Melissa.
I want to say I'm doing good. I want to say happy birthday to Vince, even though I said it already.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So we're talking about simulations, right?
That's right. I'm talking about the simulatory universe theory. I'm talking about the spaceship theory, which we haven't really got into, but we will get into it here in a little bit.
Well, that's what I was about to say, is the spaceship theory. This goes back to the whole thing. What if we're just continuing to be on the spaceship, living each life over and over again while we travel through space?
This could be a great possibility. And so for those who don't know what spaceship theory is, it's a creation. It's actually a short story that I wrote down. Nobody knows this. I wrote this short story down of what I thought potentially life could be in an alternative perspective. This perspective is that our planet was dying. We were the last of civilization that had to get off the planet. We built a spaceship. And that we were going to be traveling through space for a very long time, so we put ourselves into a cryogenic sleep. And in the meantime, we had to keep our minds activated, so we uploaded our minds into a simulation so we could live out our lives and so we could, still learn and develop as beings and species, which was operated by an AI. And that the simulation, as it plays out, we've been basically traveling on this spaceship, and the simulation has gone through many different occurrences or sequences, and that the original one was, very, very much utopic. It was very much similar to our last home planet, and this would be like Atlantis or ancient Egypt. And eventually what happens is that people start to go crazy within the simulation, and the simulation has to destroy the old civilization and rebuild a new one, until eventually the simulation realized, the AI realized, that there were just not enough people. So let's say that there's 10,000 people in this simulatory universe on the spaceship, that eventually what happens is they start fighting and bickering amongst each other, and that you need something different. You need more people integrated into the simulation. So eventually what the AI does is it creates a whole bunch of what NPCs, non-participatory characters, basically fill in the space. And you have what we have here today, is that we keep on running into each other because we're all the original 10,000 people, but we're surrounded by all these NPCs, and we can call them out. And the NPCs are basically creating this conspiracy against us to keep us asleep and awake and in the simulation, for if we're not, then they don't exist, right? And so this is kind of the idea of spaceship theory. So Melissa, what are your thoughts on spaceship theory?
I really like the spaceship theory. I've told you that before. My question is, with these people that come out, like the John Tieters of time travel and stuff, where does that play into the spaceship theory? Because maybe some of us know a few things more than other people do. Maybe not. Maybe there is time travel. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just trying to put those two concepts together. What do you think?
Well, I think that's a great question, because this is what I'm thinking, is what if the spaceship that's actually traversing through space had to have a skeleton crew while everybody was in cryogenic sleep, and that there's certain people that are in that skeleton crew that can hook up into the simulation and check it out. And maybe John Titor was one of them. And maybe these time travelers were one of them. And they just come in to screw with us every once in a while. Maybe Jesus was one of them, right?
I like that. Or the gods are them.
Or the gods, yeah. And they're like, I can just jump in with my super character avatar.
The ancient gods.
When it comes down to it, I do believe in Jesus. I do believe he was on to something. Obviously, we all pretty much confess Christ to the most point. And it just kind of baffles me when we try to confess Christ and what he knew, but trying to put it all together with what's going on nowadays. Although I do believe that there is going to be quote unquote an apocalypse, even though that is the unveiling, as you have previously pointed out. It's just one of those things that, you know, when it's ultimately said and done, when does everything come to a finish point? Because, yes, we may relive lives over and over again, but eventually there has to be some type of finish point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe it's when the spaceship arrives at its planet.
Could be.
Could be.
Definitely.
Or you know, who knows? And I think that's one thing all population, all civilizations through history have definitely understood, is that there's a culmination point for civilization to where I like to call this optimization theory, where everything moves to a level, a degree of energy until that energy has exhausted itself and it has to recess a little bit. We see this in trading when you look at charts, right? We have what's called Fibonacci Retractments. And the Fibonacci retractment is dependent upon how much growth you have upward in a short period of time. And so we see this, you know, as above, so below, they say in the old Hermetic axiom, is that we see this as well within life and within energy and within mind and consciousness and within civilization. And that as civilization increases so fast in such short amount of time, that there's going to have to be a recess. There's going to have to be a pullback. And that's the kind of the time that we're in now. There's we actually talked about it earlier with Dr. Kirk Elliott on our Friday dose that was at noon this morning, and he was talking about the fourth turning, which is a book, and there's another book that's basically an extrapolation on that called Generations, and they talk about this 90-year cycle, and this 90-year cycle just fits the bill of exactly what we're talking about, where you have progression and then a recession, and this progression recession frame kind of operates throughout history, bringing humanity to different points and variables, but also different pinnacles of growth. So, Melissa, thank you so much for your comments and your questions. Much appreciated. We got another caller, so we're gonna jump on over to them. And thank you so much, Melissa. You have a great day, and we'll talk to you here soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
No, thank you so much. You know, this makes me think. So, kind of on what you were talking about and then what we were just talking about there, what if, I'm following Spaceship Theory here, what if we reach our destination, we're woken up on this spaceship from this slumber, but our reality is now our reality would then have an extra dimension, because within that constructed reality, it has to be more rudimentary in order to fit inside the known universe there. So maybe we're just missing it. And they always say there's how many dimensions? So it's like you wake up from this into, and there'd be more to reality that you're missing.
So what you're saying is, what if we actually were beings that existed in a 4 or 5 dimensional world, and we're in this 3-dimensional simulation, and that once we get to our destination, we wake up and reality is nothing like we perceived it to be. That's a cool thought. I like that, Vince. That's awesome.
Dude.
All right, let's go to this caller. I don't know where this caller is from. I wish I had like the area codes down where it can be like east of the Rockies, right? Like, all right, but let's get this caller in here. Caller, and you guys see every time that we do that, they flip like this. The screens flip a little bit. But caller, how you doing tonight? You're live with Josh and Vince on Conversations on the Fringe.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Climb BMX. From Vancouver Island.
Oh my God. I'll tell you right now, we've always been wondering who you were and where you were. And now you're actually, this is like, so for guys, everybody out there who doesn't know, this is like one of our longest subscribers to Conversations on the Fringe. Been listening probably since the first episode and ever since, one of the first mods. What's up, Climb? How we doing?
Hey, this is a shout out. We're doing great. This is a shout out to Jess M, Nick M, Sermons from the Cave, Haley Tuggle, GETTR, Tam Bam, The Crefts, and Lolo.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And
I love it, dude.
I just missed out the last I've been on hold, so I missed out exactly what you're talking about. But I'd like to talk about Velikovsky from the 50s.
Okay.
And his idea of Venus being entered into our solar system from an external force?
Yep. So the theory from Velikovsky, his book is Worlds in Collision, and I believe it was 1940 or 1940s. I think the book came out.
It's 55.
55, and he was rejected immediately by the scientific community. But his idea was that Venus was actually a captured planet or meteorite, or asteroid or planet that was captured by our solar system. That when it transited the solar system, it wreaked havoc on all the other planets, and eventually going by the Earth, causing massive cataclysm, and eventually settling between the Earth and Mercury there. And what happened is, I think he even proposed that it caused the destruction of Mars. It caused the Ceres asteroid belt to form because of the destruction, what happened there. And for people that don't know, Venus is the only planet, and I believe this is right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that has a rotation that is the antithesis of all other planets. So it rotates backwards in comparison of all the other planets.
Yes, that's true.
And Worlds in Collision was backed up because Worlds in Collision was dropped by Velikovsky and in 1950, and he was ridiculed. Everyone said, that's a bunch of folklore and old wives' tales. And then he dropped Earth in Upheaval 5 years later, and that was the bones, the mammoth. It was the evidence, if you will, and it led to the Great Deluge and all these the typhoon, all these correlations of these cataclysmic incidences.
You know what's interesting about that? Because if you go back to the Lower Dryas period and you start looking about 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, you had the mini ice age that occurred, and we're really just still coming out of this mini ice age. But you have to ask yourself, where did all that water come from? What flooded to produce all that water? Right? I mean, you got to start asking these questions in the sense that maybe our history is something completely different. No, now think about this. If you had an advanced civilization on this planet 15,000 years ago, a highly advanced civilization like Atlantis, and our solar system just happened to capture another planet, some rogue event that is unseen and unheard of. It doesn't matter how advanced that civilization is. Well, it does to a degree. But let's just say that they don't have the ability to move a planet out of the way. Right? They would have time to prepare, so they would bury certain, artifacts. They would bury certain cities and stuff like that. And this is what we saw with Göbekli Tepe, is this place was buried. We see a lot of pyramids that were buried. But it's a great theory, as well as it's built into the plasma and the electric universe theory. This is one of my favorite theories to go about. We play this quite often on our night streams. But you got Thunderbolts of the Gods theory. For basically, if you start looking at ancient symbology from about 12,000 to 10,000 years ago, you start seeing these sun symbols with plasma rays and coronas all around them. And this is what you would expect to see if you had some type of external body within the solar system that was massive in comparison to other planets, that was wreaking havoc. So, Klein, tell me your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think that this is a true story?
If Venus did enter from, other than the solar system, yes, the interaction, the gravitational and electro interaction between Venus and Mars, the Thunderbolts theory claims that that's what gives Mars the great scar, the great valley across. It's bigger than the United States, from LA to San Francisco. New York to San Francisco, and it was seen from Earth, and the folklore, every society that recognizes Mars always has a scar on the face. Mm-hmm. Things like that.
So I think it's a good possibility too. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if with Velikovsky, it's quite a claim that Venus came from elsewhere and just landed in this orbit around the sun. It explains a lot. From the Mayans to the Indonesians to the Japanese, the Russians, Scandinavians, they all have folklore about this planetary interaction in the sky and great upheavals.
Mm-hmm.
It's, Earth in upheaval. That's Velikovsky's claim.
Well, yeah. The theory is that Atlanta sunk in one day. That a whole continent shifted and sunk in one day. Then you have the other interesting aspect. The moon. Where did our moon come from?
Who knows?
Go ahead, Vince.
Well, what gets me about this with Venus's orbit, with what I understand from modern science and how solar systems are developed over time, there's no way in hell that it just spins the opposite way of everything else without being from somewhere else originally, in my head. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what would cause that? That's the question.
Right.
Is what would cause that reverse spin? It doesn't really make much sense. And Venus is a very odd planet for this solar system. Now, what's interesting, though, is if that was the case, then what if our moon was actually one of the other bodies that came in with it?
Yeah, and is there any mythology that supports this theory or anything of that nature? Follow me?
As in the moon coming? Well, I think it does. I think there's a lot of mythology that kind of, if you looked at it in this perspective, that you would be able to see what it's talking about. Now, the moon itself is interesting because it's roughly the size of Venus. And so, I mean, you could have a twin asteroid or twin planetary bodies that were captured, and that's the ones that wreaked havoc. Or maybe it was a dual body, or maybe it was a single body, and when it smashed into Ceres and destroyed Mars, it split, and the moon got captured by Earth, and Venus went on to basically sit in its orbit. And when that moon got captured by Earth, it caused a massive upheavals, because that's exactly what it would do. I mean, think about the tidal shift that the moon has on the Earth right now. Imagine if the moon was just placed there overnight. What do you think,
Absolutely.
Klein? What do you think, Klein?
Oh, that's the whole question about the moon. I'm going to leave that to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought I'll let you get on to the other callers.
Awesome.
And I love you guys, and I really appreciate everything you guys do. And I tell everyone to join this stream. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Dude.
Much
Good to hear
appreciated,
from
Klein.
you.
Good to hear from you, my friend. You take care, and we'll talk to you here again soon. Bye, Klein.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys. This has been a pretty cool conversation
Wow,
so far.
what
huh?
a treat! What
Yeah.
a treat, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So this is what you're going to expect when you do these open lines like this. So very cool. So we were talking about simulation theory, and then we transitioned to Velikovsky, and now let's think about this. Is what if that's how the planet that we're all on the spaceship actually happened? Oh.
Yeah, dude.
The thing with the moon is it's interesting. I remember sitting in a physics class, and it was actually a cosmology class, and PhD professor who actually worked on the James Bell telescope that was just out there, one of the engineers. And they're trying to tell us that, 3 billion years ago or a billion years ago when the Earth was still in liquid magma forming, right, that it got hit by another protoplanet. And the protoplanet ripped through the Earth and formed with it and was the moon. And it, 1/3 the size. And if that was the case, don't you think with the massive gravitational tug that the moon pulls on the Earth that it would be lopsided in a certain degree? Or, it just really wouldn't work out and balance correctly?
Well, they say that's why we have tides.
Well, yeah, that's
But-
why we have tides. But if you're talking about two protoplanets, one in a plasmic state, so it's basically liquid lava and magma, and another one that's liquid lava and magma because it just hit another planet. You know, those two going back and forth to each other, there would be it wouldn't turn out nice. And this was one of my questions that I asked him. And then there is also this, and he said, "Well, we know this to be true because we found radioactive isotopes from Earth on the moon that show that parts of the Earth were embedded within the core structure of the moon. They did this with the Apollo astronauts." And I said, "That's great. How much of the moon have you found on the Earth?" In the same place, and they couldn't answer that question. And I said,
great.
He said, "Well, none." And I go, "Well, don't you think that if the Earth left some imprint on the moon would leave some imprint on the Earth?" And he's kind of like, "Oh, well, that's a good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked that one before." And I said, "Well, wouldn't you want to look? Like, that would prove the theory wholeheartedly." But apparently, I think they did look, and they didn't find anything because that's just not how our moon came about. So, I mean, I like Velikovsky's theories. It actually is the prerequisite for electric universe theory. Well, it kind of helps prove electric universe theory that a lot of our mountain ranges, a lot of our riverbeds and stuff like that were actually formed by electrical currents striking the Earth through various interactions with other planetary bodies, as well as the sun's solar maximum and minimum cycles, which right now we're moving towards a solar maximum cycle. And, we were talking about the sun the other day, strange waves coming off the sun. This is interesting. Have you heard about this one, the strange waves coming off the sun?
I did. I saw this a couple days ago.
So it's my theory that the sun has a relationship with other stars as well as the galaxy. And that what we're seeing is really high energy plasma currents that basically connect solar objects, other stars, planets, as well as the galactic center. And that those toroidal waves that are coming off the sun are created by the interaction with these plasmic channels.
When you explain it that way, the way I kind of imagine it in my head is like a neural network.
Yeah, exactly. And why would the solar system be any different from anything else that we find in nature? The roots
It makes
of a tree.
perfect sense.
Right, the roots of a tree, right? The way nature is so elegantly designed. But okay, I think some people wanted me to finish up with simulation theory because I was telling that story. So let's jump back into this. So we had spaceship theory, so we're all on a spaceship in a simulation. I like the idea, but I don't think there'd be any really way to prove it. We can prove it through NPCs, absolutely. Wait, and I want to put this out there. So, guys, we are in open lines tonight. If you want to call in, you can go to the social Red Pill. It's posted on there on how to call in. Call in numbers for Fringe. There's various numbers, 253-215-8782. At the prompts, all you need to do is go ahead and put in the first code, which is 618-527-2678, pound. Then hit pound again on the next menu, and then you hit 621-299 pound, and you'll get through to us. We'll connect you, first come, first serve, and you guys can tell us about your paranormal experiences, your UFO experiences, ask questions, really anything that is on the fringe. We're not talking about the 3 Vs, that's votes, viruses, and vaccines. That's something that we do not talk about on Fridays because we just take a break from all that stuff. But if you do want to call in, I urge you to. If you look in the description box, whether you're on CloutHub or Pilled or Facebook or Red Pills TV or Rumble, you're going to have all of that right there. You can go ahead. If you guys actually go to Rumble and you scroll up to the top of the chat, all those numbers are right there. And it's also in the description box. So please go ahead and call in, ask us your questions. We can talk about anything, change the topic. That's absolutely all right. But I'm just going to continue with simulation theory. So I'm a big conspiracy theorist. So I'm always researching. I'm always looking into things. Well, I came across this video from 1977 of Philip K. Dick, who was a sci-fi author. And Philip K. Dick, if you guys have ever seen The Man in the High Castle on Amazon Prime, that's Philip K. Dick who wrote that book. He's also got a series special on Amazon Prime of his short stories. He passed away in 1984, but he was definitely a thinker, definitely a highly intelligent human being. Well, he's given this presentation, or he's speaking at the seminar on the fundamentals of reality. What is reality? It's a whole bunch of scientists and physicists, and he was invited to speak. And he starts speaking, and he starts talking about the nature of reality and how we do not live in a linear time, but instead an orthogonal time, in the sense that time moves the same in all directions. So therefore,
I love that word.
Yeah, so time actually stands still because it's moving in all directions at the same time, but it's actually just standing still. And
orthogonal, it means that there's multiple phases of time.
Right. In this context, it's time is moving in all directions, all at the same time, and so therefore time is not moving, time is standing still. And so the way he described this is he goes, think of a universe where, you know, there's this guy that goes to dinner and he has a butler, and every time he goes in there, the butler switches out the painting with a new painting. Okay, this is the aspect of linear time, is that reality is continuously refreshing itself over and over and over again, kind of like pixels on a computer screen where they have to refresh over and over and over again. Now, if you go back to computer power, the old JavaScript, this is kind of how it operated with the old PHP-based JavaScript, is that you would have the data and the data would refresh with new data, right?
Right.
Well, then they kind of, Facebook said this doesn't work and it's not really reactive in the sense of how people consume data. What we need to do is they created something known as React.js, or basically what it did is it allowed you to update the data in real time without touching other data around it. And so this is kind of what Philip K. Dick was talking about, is that instead of that butler going in there and putting a new painting and a new spread on the table every day, the butler would just go in and add a tree or take away a bush, and just the subtle changes of the reality would change over time, when instead the time was never moving. Time was always constant, but reality was subtly changing, that there were certain things within reality that were subtly changing. And so we look at these subtle changes as progressions of time, when in actuality, they're just kind of like random updates to the computer program that are occurring. Right? So you know where I'm going with this. He's talking about simulation theory in 1977. Okay? He goes, it's a firm belief of mine that we live in a simulation because there's nothing else to produce this type of updating in reality. He goes, not only that is, he goes, I wrote a book called The Man in the High Castle, and this is about a guy who wakes up and the Nazi Germany had won the world war, and they had taken over parts of the U.S. and the world, and that he's kind of like from a different timeline. And he's like, what the heck's going on here, right? And his objective is to get back to his timeline. And Philip K. Dick goes on to say that, look, like, I believe we wholeheartedly live in a simulation, and that our reality is updating constantly. And sometimes we wake up and we're in a completely different timeline. And he goes, that book, Man in the High Castle, that was not a creation of my mind. That is my autobiography. I am from that timeline. I woke up one day and I was just ended up here. And
my goodness.
He goes, I was one of the people that helped fight against the Nazis, and that we helped free the people. And then one day I just wake up here. And then he goes, to prove my theory that the universe we live in right now is a simulation, I'm going to make a prediction. And he said, as we move forward in the future, more people will come forward talking about subtle changes to their reality that are changing, that are noticeable. And they'll look at these changes and they'll start to see, like, hey, that wasn't that. It said Bernstein Bears, not Bernstein Bears. It said Kit Kat with a dash in the middle, but there's actually no dash in the middle. And he said this in 1977. He said that people will start noticing subtle changes to their reality because what's happening is they're shifting into these different dimensional aspects of a simulation.
That's super cool, dude.
That was 1977. Philip K. Dick predicted the Mandela effect.
That's amazing that it was the 70s too. That's just extraordinary. Wow.
And when I heard him say this, I go, oh my God, he's talking about the Mandela effect. And they didn't even know what the Mandela effect was. And you remember I said this when I described the Mandela effect. I said the reason the Mandela effect came about in the late 1990s and about 2010 is because of the birth of the internet, cloud computing. People were more communicative. We had the birth of social media. Social social networking. But before this time frame, there was no mass communication, instantaneous mass communication. If we're sitting there having a few beers over a fire and we're like, man, I remember it said Berenstein Bears, not Berenstain. Like, nah, dude, it's always been that way. You're just crazy. There's no way to go reference that. There's no videos to go check out, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until the internet was created that you actually had this point of validation where other people were saying the same thing, and you could actually, correlate with other people on that idea. And so Philip K. Dick, I think, nailed it. And I think that we're in a simulation per se. But I think the simulation is just a dimensionality of the universe itself. I think that the universe itself is a harnesser of multiple dimensionalities, and they all act as simulations with their own laws and rules and boundaries and interactions. But I also had this theory. I'm like, what if we were created by some higher intelligence, some like actual beings from the real universe, and they created this artificial simulation to create artificial intelligence. And they throw us into the simulation. And the whole objective here is to find yourself, is self-realization. We're artificial intelligences moving through the simulation, trying to find actual consciousness or self-realization. And that's the point. These people are trying to create, these beings are trying to create life, and we're their pet project. I hate to look at it like that, but it's just a theory.
It's possible, dude. It really is.
Yeah.
All right. The thing is, nobody really knows, do they?
Nobody really knows.
It's fun to speculate.
So he actually, one of the books that he inspired was the movie Adjustment Bureau. Have you ever seen the Adjustment Bureau?
No, I've heard of it.
Where there's people that monitor time and recheck time and put back time together. Oh yeah, it's kind of an interesting. It's an interesting.
I've seen a series like that. I forget the name of it. Very cool.
But, guys, we have no callers at the moment. If you want to go ahead and call in, we are in open lines. The way to do that is you can call this number right here. It's 253-215-8782. Go ahead and call that number. When you get to the prompts, you're going to type in 618-527-2678. Hit the pound. There's another menu that's going to come up right after that. You hit the pound again. Just skip through that menu. And then the next menu after that is you're going to put in the code 621-299-pound. And then I will join you in once you get in. We've already had two awesome callers, Melissa and Klein BMX, so glad for them to call, but we're hoping to hear from some more of you guys. So if you guys are interested in joining in this conversation and maybe just changing the conversation, let us know and hit us up. I mean, this would be an awesome conversation to have with you if you jumped in and maybe talked about Bigfoot or UFOs or whatever it might be.
Ooh, an alien experience or a spiritual experience. Actually,
yeah.
If we could switch gears, my mom told me a pretty cool spiritual story.
Oh, let's hear it.
Today. So she said her boyfriend's mother always loved hummingbirds. And they were talking, and he was like, I really wish you could have met my mother. You guys could have been baking this weekend or whatever, just kind of reminiscing. And she was like, oh yeah, that would have been great. And he always would say that his mother would show herself as a hummingbird. I know a lot of people do this, kind of personify somebody you loved who passed away as a certain animal. And this hummingbird started showing up at her house to her feeder a lot until one day it came in the house recently. And she was just kind of tripping out. She's like, calls him up. Can you come get this bird out of here? Your mom's in here and she's freaking me out. I can't reach her. She's too high up there. And she went and brought his feeder in the house and kept it there till he could come get the bird. And she turned the lights off so it wouldn't burn itself and all this. So he comes and he gets a little net, gently lets it out the front door, and he takes off. The next day, she goes out in the backyard, and the bird's sitting on a line on the back porch with its head tucked.
Huh.
And she's like talking to it and stuff. And basically, it's like just kind of tripping her out, like that it's kind of some kind of spiritual thing of his mother as the bird coming to say hello, and that it won't go away. And it comes inside the house. It's pretty cool. I was like, that's pretty trippy, pretty cool.
Yep. So, guys, I'm putting it's right there in the chat. Sorry, this is the one chat I didn't put it in. That is a cool story. I mean, I've had experiences before with animals like, random dogs that, or not random, feral dogs or feral cats that show up and they just don't go away, and you're wondering if it's that type of sign. Birds, especially, yeah.
Owls.
But have you ever heard, Vince, that birds aren't real?
I have. Yeah, we covered this conspiracy theory on It Makes You Think.
Did you?
Good stuff.
Did you know that they are suing CNN for libel?
No, they were.
They were? Oh.
And then they came out and they said they retracted.
Oh, they retracted.
A couple days later. That was so hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, God. Birds
They're
aren't
hilarious.
real. Well, there's some theory to that. I mean, have you seen these photos of the birds just stuck in the sky?
Yeah, that's so weird. And come on, not all birds are real.
Videos. Every bird is stuck in the sky in a photo. Videos of birds stuck in the sky.
Yeah, just like frozen still.
Yeah.
Floating.
Well, there's that one, I think it's from China or something like that, where the guy has to get out of his car and he's like getting the thing out of the sky because it's stuck in the sky.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like, I don't know the legitimacy of these things. I don't know if those videos are real or not. Who knows with deep fakes and the way CGI is these days. The question is why didn't those videos come out 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Why weren't people videotaping on an actual camcorder birds stuck in the sky 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Why is it all of a sudden now? Makes you wonder.
It's weird, dude. If any of it is real, it's certainly strange.
Definitely.
And you have to think there have been robotic birds created. I mean, that are the size of birds. Drones the size of birds.
Your government's spying on you, absolutely. Well, now they're on to insects. Now the government is creating insect drones that spy on you.
Oh, it's scary.
As big as a mosquito.
Yeah, and as small as dust in the wind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, have you heard of Nano Dust?
Yeah.
A lot of the theories is that's one of the things that they were spraying within chemtrails is Nano Dust.
Oh, it's just horrible.
Yep, it absorbs into your body, into your skin. You drink it, and they can monitor and track you. I don't know, man. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. And I would say less than 10% of them are actually legitimate in the information that's presented. One of the most convoluted ones is the UFO and alien stories. Now, I talked about this, I think I was talking about it with Lynn Buchanan last week, in the sense that a lot of what we see with the people that have UFO or alien experiences is really, there's this thing that happens when your brain starts to process something it doesn't understand. When your mind sees something that is outside of this dimensionality, when it's outside of its conception, when it's outside of its understanding, the mind basically goes into its memory banks and tries to pick out the right neurological response to what it's seeing, right? And the way it does that is it's going to do that through society, through culture. It's going to pull it from experiences, and it's going to formulate the best concept of what it believes is out there. You got to remember, we don't create or we don't actually see reality for what it is. Our brains actually produce the best interpretation of what it believes reality is with the information at hand. Which means that everything that you're seeing now, everything that you're hearing now, everything that is before you, in front of you, is not really real. It's just an interpretation of what your brain is perceiving or believes to be real, based upon your experiences, your filters, your beliefs, your indoctrinations, dependent upon the level of information that you're getting from your external environment, which varies person to person. And so your reality, in a sense, is not real. It's just created by your mind. And it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. But when we start looking at reality in a whole, or we start looking at these things like alien abductions and UFOs, what if they're really not those things? What if they are something completely different? That's just how our mind interprets it.
Yeah, it's possible. And I heard a story, I think it was told on History Channel or something. This is so long ago, I don't remember. But basically, they were talking about natives when they first encountered a giant ship.
I know this story.
They said, the ships would be on the horizon, but they wouldn't see the ships.
Nope.
And
They'd only see the waves in the water.
Yeah, they'd only see the waves in the water, and that the chief one day sat there on the beach staring until he eventually saw the ship. And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? No way, you're crazy. And then they ended up meeting everybody from the ships and whatnot. I don't know if that's true or not. It kind of makes sense, and it kind of makes sense to me, but who knows?
Well, have you ever seen something that didn't make sense and you kind of like do a double, a triple take, and then it comes in the focus?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
It's so easy to be deceived.
It is. But, for me, it was a revelation I had. I had a spiritual experience a while back, and I was kind of like in this upper dimensional level in a meditation. And, I said, how can I be here? So basically it was like this woman I was talking to, and she said she's talking to me, but I'm sitting there listening, and I'm not talking to her. She said, well, I'm talking to your higher self. I'm talking to your higher spirit and being. And I said, well, how can that be? She goes, your conceptualization of reality is not the truth. It's just a very, very limited form. And basically what happens is that when you perceive reality in a certain way, that reality is an interpretation of what your mind wants it to be. So it basically goes into all your neurological firings and patterns and says, okay, this is what best fits this information that I'm seeing right now. And so so think about it like right now, we live in a very, very high, fast speed environment in the sense of digital computing, right? Most phones are almost at a gig, right? Almost at a gig upload speed. We have, internet at about a gig upload speed. But what if you saw something, in your gig reality? So let's say we have a 1 gig reality, okay? That everything was coming to us at 1 gig speed. And what if something came in at 10 gig speed? It wouldn't make sense to us because we're processing everything at 1 gig. This thing's operating at 10 gig. It would be a blur. But our mind would try to extrapolate that in a 1 gig fashion.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I see.
We got a caller. I'm gonna take this caller. So this should be interesting. Let's go to the lines and see who we got here. All right, welcome, caller. You are live on Conversations on the Fringe with Vince Tagliavia and Josh. Who are you? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Judy. I'm West Maryland, and I'm calling because we put out there, has anybody ever encountered Bigfoot? Ooh. I haven't, but I have seen some strange shit.
Oh, cool. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, Judy, tell me your strange shit. Yeah.
Okay, the strange shit was, one, I was driving down my French Street, this is many years ago, and there's a turnoff, this is in Baltimore, to get onto 83, and I looked over and I saw this hairy thing squatting in the middle of the road. And I just kept driving. There was a passenger in the car with me. And he goes, did you see that? I said, yep. And he said, turn around. I'm like, nope. So he convinced me to turn around and rode back, and it was gone, obviously. But come to find out, long story short, it had been an orangutan that had escaped the SPCA.
Ah.
But let's talk about what I have seen. I have seen on multiple occasions, starting as early as the age of 7, UFOs, and I have also had astral projection episodes, many, to which the last ones were during the Hurricane Katrina storms. And I remember asking the guide, I don't know who it was, somebody was guiding me, and I was even at Saddam Hussein's trial, and I remember saying to them, why are you showing me these things? And that was the last time I ever astral projected. But as far as the UFOs go, probably one of the best ones was I actually had my mother with me when it happened. It was in broad daylight, 5:30 p.m. During the month of July, again, Baltimore, on 83 heading north toward 695. I was in the passenger seat. My mother was driving, and I see this green light come down in the sky. And all of a sudden, I see it break into three. And I said to her, I said, Mom, do you see this? And my mother is a very stoic German woman. And she just said, mm-hmm. And then I watched them, and as I watched them, I said, oh, my God, they're going to crash. They all came back together and shot straight up. I said, Mom, you saw that? She goes, yep. And that was the last she would ever speak of it.
Wow.
But I have seen them many times. And then finally, at the age of 12, my own son saw his first unidentified object. He said, Mom, I said, congratulations, because I saw it too. But I guess I'm the oddball in the family because it seems to me I'm the one that this happens to the most. And I should mention I've had a near-death experience. I was the victim of a very brutal assault. And I did have an out-of-body. I was wondering why nobody was helping me. I was watching the police standing around. I remember them covering me over with the sheet. And I remember, why doesn't anybody hear me screaming? And all of a sudden, I sat up, and the policeman sitting next to me, Baltimore City Cop, said, oh, shit, she's alive. And I woke up 7 days later from a coma. But, yeah, I've been through some shit, and I've wondered. I know there's nothing wrong with me in that sense. I'm not crazy. But sometimes I see shit, and I see people that nobody else sees. And I've even had them come to me so much so that I tell them, you know I can see you, don't you? And then they'll give you a look of almost like horror before they fade away because they realize you see them. And then some of them come to you and they're screaming and yelling, you know they are, but I don't want to open that door. I even had therapists one time tell me, why don't you ask them what they want? And I'm like, hell no. I don't even want to see what I see now.
So Judy, tell me. Tell me. With your astral projection, what was the experience like? What did you feel in your actual body, and what did you feel out of body?
Okay. Both of them I had gone to bed, and I remember doing it with intent. Okay, you have to have intent. And I was looking for that, and I got it. The first one was during Saddam Hussein's trial. I remember him standing in a wooden square in the defendant's box in the trial room. Even though I couldn't understand the language, I knew fully well what was going on. But something had my left hand, even though I could not see what it was. I knew I was being guided.
Interesting.
Why I was being shown that, I have no idea. I really wasn't into politics at that time. Then the other thing happened with the Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
If you remember, after Katrina, when it hit Louisiana, there was a second hurricane that nobody knew about yet. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was in the Gulf. It was developing, and they hadn't got it yet. And I remember seeing it and asking the person again, why are you showing me these things? And 2 days later, my mother, I go in, and it's all over news. I'm like, Mom, I told you there's another storm coming. And there was a second storm that came up the Gulf following Katrina.
Interesting.
I can't remember the name of that storm, but there was a second hurricane that followed Katrina up the Gulf. Not as massive, but nonetheless another hurricane.
Interesting.
And I was like, why were you showing me this? Who am I? What can I do?
Huh. Well, so you had this
But
in
again,
an astral travel vision. That's pretty cool.
Yes, and I thought it was, wonderful. I mean, even at the age of 7, I saw my twin cousins who were not even born yet.
Ooh.
And I remember telling my grandfather my aunt was going to have 2 little girls. And the day that she was standing on the back porch and telling him, Pop, I'm having twins, my grandfather looked at me and said, son of a bitch,
That's kind of cool.
That was, I mean, 7 years old. I don't ask. I don't know. You know, it doesn't happen as much anymore. But like I said, as well as the astral projection, I did that with intent because I wanted to feel something different. I was
Gotcha.
These things seem to happen mostly when I'm one of those people when I am in such an emotional state. I guess.
Well, yeah, and that's
the-
typically when they do happen, Judy, is when we're in these high heightened emotional states. So, Judy, I appreciate you calling in. We got another caller we're going to bring in, but thank you so much for sharing your stories.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you take care, and we'll talk to you here soon. Yeah, awesome. That was that was some
guys.
pretty cool stories there from Judy. Oh
Very
my
cool.
goodness! I mean, absolutely. What's that?
It's just what a bunch of great experiences she's had, huh?
Well, I've had like experiences where like I hear voices like in the left ear, like just the left ear, and they'll be calling my name. There is one. I was staying in a hotel room. I was doing a job in Southern California, and I was in a hotel room with one of my team members. And I woke up really early in the morning. And I hear a voice in my ear, "Josh, help us, help me!" It's like a little girl. It's a little girl, and then behind her, you hear like men, grown men, and I'm like, "What the heck is going on?" And they said, "Turn on the TV," and I turn on the TV, and Gabrielle Gifford was just shot at the event. She was a congresswoman who was just shot at an event in Arizona. And a little girl died, and a few guys died at the event. And I'm like, no way! Like that was odd. Like that's like I wake up the dude like on my team. I'm like, did you see all this? Like what the hell is going on? Like do you hear this? Like, and they were talking to me. I'm like, that was just odd. So I don't know. I mean, there's just some experiences in life that are unexplainable. I'm gonna go to this next caller. Caller, welcome to Conversations on the Fringe. You are live with Josh and Vince. Where are you from, and what is your name?
I am from Peoria, Illinois, and my name is Annie.
Annie, what's up? How is Peoria, Illinois doing these days?
It's all right.
It's all right. Oh,
just
well.
I know, just like everywhere else. It's all right, actually. It's not too bad.
Awesome. So tell me, do you have any paranormal experiences? Do you have any UFO, aliens, ghosts, anything of that nature?
Well, I have a couple of stories. One UFO story and one, well, kind of a spiritual intervention story, I suppose.
All right.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear it.
Well, you want to hear both of them or one of them? I was kind of calling because I was following up on one of the woman that was just on about a kind of a spiritual intervention with that happened to me when I was in my 20s. I was living in Chicago. I was at a grocery store and like a little Chicago market, you know, that years ago, they just had these tiny little markets. And I was just very unhappy at the time. And I was kind of standing there looking at the vegetables and stuff. And this old man walked up to me, and I remember his name was Lou. And he just kind of started the conversation with me. And I don't really remember kind of the content of the conversation, but I know it was a very personal conversation. And I remember that he gave me some really good advice. And he eventually, he just kind of said, you know what, you need to move out west. I had a brother that lived in California, moved to California, and I continued talking to this old guy. He was an old man. And he said, yeah, I think you should just move out to California, because I was telling him about my brother living out there. And I just, continued the conversation with him, and we said goodbye, and I kind of shook his hand and everything, and I said, thank you for talking to me. And so he kind of sort of walked away, and I turned around because I wanted to say something to him, and he was gone. He was just like gone, a little old man that couldn't walk anywhere, very fast. He was just completely gone. So I walked around and I tried to find him, and he was nowhere in the store.
Did you go to California?
Whoa.
I did.
What happened?
I spent 13 years there, had a great life. I learned a lot. I eventually moved back here to my hometown in Illinois, but it was great.
Wow.
I had great experiences out there, and my life completely turned around.
It's those in the simulation. That's those people that just kind of are meant to help guide you along the way. So it's you sent that there. You just timed it correctly, right?
I suppose, but it's just I always hate to think that we're in a simulation. It just bothers me for some reason.
Me too.
Because I'm very spiritual, and the feeling of being in a terrarium or a simulation, it really disturbs me.
I agree 100%. So what's the other story that you have?
The other story was a UFO story. This one, probably a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when I started kind of, waking up and paying more attention, looking at the skies and everything. And this was probably in maybe September. It was kind of early fall kind of time, and I was outside, kind of looking up at the sky, and the moon was kind of really bright. And and the moon was in the west, and I was kind of looking at the moon, and I saw this this beam of light. Well, it wasn't more like an orb or a ship or something. Anyway, it shot straight up toward the moon. I mean, the moon was pretty big. It was kind of full, and it shot right straight up toward the moon. And then it took like a really sharp turn then to the north.
Uh-huh.
And then I saw some red lights, like it would be like other aircraft around the area, like regular planes or maybe military planes or something. And anyway, it happened so fast. But this light or ship that I saw shot straight up toward the moon, took a very sharp turn toward the north, and then it took a very sharp turn toward the northeast, and it kept heading. I just kept watching it. It kept heading east, and it was going so fast, and then it just kind of boom, it was gone.
Huh.
And these other planes were kind of like up in the air, kind of looking around and everything. And my sister actually, who lives like 20 miles north of me, said she saw exactly the same thing.
That's crazy.
I know. She said she was outside, because I thought, you see shooting stars and stuff. This was not a shooting star. It was something, a light that shot straight up from, I guess, the ground or from wherever I could see it, straight up, took a sharp turn, and then took another sharp turn, and it was gone. Boom, gone.
I love UFO stories. I have a lot of them, and a few of them I have never talked about. When I lived in Casa de Oro, just in East County, San Diego, when I was in the military, it was July 4th out there, and I had an apartment, and I could go out on my balcony, and I could oversee all the mountain ranges there in East County, San Diego. And one of them at the end of the range was all these towers, right? And there was a military installation out there. It was a helicopter base. And so this one night, it's 4th of July, I'm out there and I'm watching the fireworks, and all of a sudden I see this light just pop down, just red light just kind of come down. Kind of like, you think it's a helicopter, right? It comes down and it's right over top of the communication center, right? And it's just kind of like sitting there, and I'm like, is that a helicopter? What is that? Well, all of a sudden, I saw two F-18s. Shoom! And they came down, and they kind of did one of those where they spread. And
it was kind of like that,
Yeah, in this thing, the red light kind of went up in the air like this, kind of went like this, and then, boom, took off. and they kind of chased it up, and it disappeared. That was one. I saw this one time in my backyard at my last house here in Colorado, and it was just this object floating through the sky. It probably was pretty small. I would say it was about the size of, I don't know, a small car maybe, and it had no form. Like, have you guys ever seen like magnetic liquid? Of how it goes all over the place and it's like this and it's just always transforming. It was that going through the sky. That's what it looked like going through the sky. And I was trying to take pictures of it and like nothing would come out. I mean, this is back in like 2010, right? Phones weren't really that great. But I don't know. It's just crazy. But Annie, thank you so much for calling. 2 awesome stories. Yeah. Much appreciated for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. No problem. Thanks, Josh, and thanks, Vince. Love you guys both.
Love you too. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, all right, guys, we got open lines tonight for Conversations on the Fringe. If you are interested in talking with Vince and I and sharing your stories of UFOs, aliens, paranormal, astral travel, whatever it might be, your experiences in life, please feel free to call in. The numbers that you can call in are in the description. They're also in the chats. So one of the easiest ways to do that is just to call 253-215-8782. And if you are listening to a recording of this, obviously those numbers are no longer active. But the meeting ID is 618-527-2678. You then hit pound, and then you hit pound again to skip over the next menu option. And then you hit the passcode 621299 pound, and that will get you into the call with Vince and myself. We have about 20 more minutes left. Guys, tonight, after this show, we're going to be doing at 9:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be celebrating Vincey's birthday. I don't know if he's going to be there, but I'll be there. But we're going to be celebrating Vincey's birthday in Fringe After Dark, which is our subscription show. If you wanted to join in on the Zoom, that's a master Patreon subscription over on the social Red Pill. If you want to just watch it on YouTube, that's as low as a cup of coffee a month at $5.99. If you're wanting to join in tonight for this one, just let us know, and we'll gladly get you over the links for the Zoom, as well as sometimes we just throw that out there on the social Red Pill so everybody can join and watch the YouTube. We might be doing that, but just remember, you got to be a member of the social Red Pill to get into that show, which is the after show where we continue the conversation. The night of the Insomniac. And by the way, we're bringing back Insomniac Hour. It's going to be on Sunday nights. We're talking to a few potential people to host it, but we're going to probably have 2 shows on Sunday. I had so many people that came forth.
So cool.
I had so many people that came forth wanting to do a show on Sunday.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so we're gonna probably we're gonna try to get a few of them in. I got another guy I'm talking to. He's got a pretty cool podcast.
Okay.
I found him on Twitter, and he's been heavily censored as well. And they talk a lot about different conspiracies. And I'm like, well, maybe you should come on over here and do a show on Red Pills. So he's all into it. We're gonna be meeting with him next week. But we got a few other people we're talking with. So yeah, very cool. I'm gonna go to the call line, and we got a caller coming in right now.
All right.
All right, caller. What is your name and where are you calling from?
This is Brendan, and I'm from Montana.
Montana. What's
Very
up, Brendan?
cool.
How are we doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing fantastic. So what's the story? I want to hear this.
Which one you want to hear? Paranormal, UFO?
Well, since we're on the
I've
UFO
had
topic,
with.
Yeah, since we're on the UFO topic, let's do UFO. Let's start with there.
Okay, I've had multiple experiences, seen them flying, scooting way across the sky as fast as they can. And a couple years ago, I had a picture with one. I put it on your podcast, and you showed it on the Fringe one time, where it just kind of took off at a different angle. You could see the jet stream behind it. It was a cigar-shaped UFO, and
that's pretty cool.
Ooh.
Did we lose him?
Maybe.
No, I'm still here.
All right,
Okay.
cool. There you are. All right, so cigar shape. Have you had any recently? This is weird. I haven't seen anything in a very long time. It's been weird. The last one I saw was what I call the Seven Sisters. This was 7 points of light that I posted this on my TikTok and it got banned. But I was looking outside and I see like this light come in, boom, like this, and it stopped and then kind of took off. Then I see another one, boom, like this. And it was 7 of them right after each other, all stopping in the same spot. I know that wasn't a plane. I know that wasn't a shooting star. Definitely something in space. Have you seen anything recently?
I did. I seen a light just sitting there hovering above the sky, and before I could get out and take a picture with my phone and everything, it just kind of disappeared. Huh. And it was a bright light, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Crazy. And, you know, I think everybody has these types of experiences where you see, you know, UFOs or paranormal sightings. So what were your paranormal experiences?
Well, I've seen angels. I've had demons come inside of me and kind of scare the crap out of me, you know.
Yeah.
Before you could really know what's going on, and you know, they kind of leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of crazy.
Wow.
So,
well, I put a salt ring around my house after my kids and everybody was playing with Ouija boards and everything. And I was working out of state, and I was laying on the bed, and something was trying to get into my back, and I kept on getting drug onto the bed when I was trying to get out. And finally it got in, and then as I came home, I hit that salt ring and it knocked me right down. And for about a week after that, I could see the demon outside the window of my house, and
that's
just
crazy.
Scary stuff.
So you're really receptive to those types of things, huh?
Yes, I've always, you know, Ouija boards as a kid, you know how great that goes.
Yep.
You know, when you're 7, 8 years old, you see all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's crazy, man. Well, you know, I hope the demon thing is under control and you're not seeing them anymore.
Oh, no. This has been 10, 12 years ago, so.
Oh, God. Awesome.
No, actually, I see more biblical stuff anymore, you know, angels, all that kind of stuff.
Interesting. So what do the angels look like?
Well, like my whole room would just light up bright, where you just hardly couldn't see anything in the room other than a bright light.
Wow. Interesting.
And then I've had actual, you know, waking up to Mary Magdalene coming around and all this stuff. It just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just kind of weird.
Well, I hope that you're writing it down in a journal and that you write your experiences down.
Yes, I have been.
Awesome.
Just to try to keep track of all that stuff.
Crazy. Well,
how do you guys feel about that, the religious part of all that?
Well, I have a lot of theories on it. I try to take an outsider perspective on it, right? I try to keep my own beliefs out of the way when looking at a level of interpretation, right? So when I look at that compared to a lot of other stories I've heard, a lot of experiences I've heard from other people, experiences that I've had in my own life, what I perceive is that we tend, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier with UFOs, aliens, and other types of things, is that when something in our reality comes about that we cannot understand, we cannot explain, that is incomprehensible to our 3-dimensional or 1 gigabyte mind, is that our mind produces and creates what it believes is there through the information that it has the best of knowledge of. And so the interpretation of that, you know, for someone who's a Christian is going to be angels and demons, or it's going to be God, Mary, Christ, all these things. For someone who's Hindu, it's going to be Krishna, Vishnu, it's going to be, you know, the cities, it's going to be, so for someone who's, you know, Buddhist, maybe it's going to be an ancient master or something of that nature, right? But who knows what it really is? And that's kind of my interpretation. It's just I have to look at it from that perspective because I've had so many people with so many different experiences that come from various different cultures.
Sure, and it basically puts us all in the same category anyway, right?
It absolutely does, 100%. But awesome.
Yeah, I can't explain a lot of it, you know.
Well, and I don't think anybody really can. I mean, it's there's just so much in the universe, so much that we don't understand, and it's hard to explain it all, and that we tend to come across these things that are inexplicable to our minds. And the best that we can do is draw from popular culture, right? and draw from popular culture and or what our beliefs are, or organization of our beliefs, and draw a conclusion out of that. But Brendan, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate you sharing your experiences with us. And
all right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope you call in next time we have open lines. We're gonna go to the next caller here. All right, next caller. We're gonna be bringing you in here in just 1 second. There we go. Next caller. All right, caller. How you doing? What's your name? Where are you calling from? You are live on Conversations on the Fringe.
Oh, sweet. My name's Allison. I'm from Northern California. I wanted to call in about like paranormal stuff, something that happened to me about 23 years ago.
Okay.
So I was dating this guy, and his mom passed away of cancer, and he was really close to his mom, and he was really having a hard time, and he wanted to go visit his stepdad and, you know, at the mom's house, and his sister was there. And we stayed the night, and they lived in this gated community in the woods up in Auburn. And they spent the night just talking about her and everything. And we went to go to sleep, and we were sleeping on the couch, like feet to feet kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm facing this bay window on a gated community. Nobody's like driving. It's like probably midnight. And this bright light just comes through the window, hella bright, like a car was coming through it. And then all of a sudden, their fish tank starts boiling, like it's bubbling, like really loud. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, something took over me, and I started to cry. And I told him, your mom says she loves you more than you know. And then it was over. The fish tank stopped bubbling, the window stopped, with the light, and that was it. And the next day, Matt, he was like, hey, tell my stepdad, my sister, what happened. And I did, and they just started laughing, and they go, oh yeah, she said she'd come back.
That's crazy. So she said she would come back, and she did, huh?
Damn.
And she did, and it's like she almost like came through me,
yeah,
like, because it was the weirdest thing. Like I wasn't me moving my lips kind of thing. It was just like,
and that's pretty well, not common, but basically what will happen is when you have spiritual beings come back after death to visit a loved one or someone like that, they will look for somebody who's easiest to channel through, somebody who's very, very open and receptive to those things. My father, after he passed, me and my brothers all had a very similar dream the first night that we had in his condo after he had died. And so it was kind of interesting that we all, like, next day we're like, yeah, I dreamt about that. Oh, I dreamt about that. Oh, I dreamt about that. It was like, whoa, hold on. Well, what did you dream?
Wow.
And it was a very, like, prophetic, similar dream that we all had. And we were 100% certain that he had came back. And I've even had driving down the road alone in a car, and I look to my right, and I see a glance of my father in the front passenger seat. And then all of a sudden he starts talking to me like, hey, man, what's up? How you doing? And it's like, wow, this is just odd. And they're hard to explain. Do you have any other experiences?
Nothing like that. That was like the most.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Because it was physical, and like the room, the way it changed, and the feeling, the vibration, and then the lights, and then the fish tank, and then when it just all stopped, it just stopped. And but yeah, that was the most profound thing. Like I've felt presence before, and I've felt, many times in my dreams, I feel like people come through. And yeah, so that was the biggest, craziest one for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate.
I want to say happy birthday, Vince.
Yeah.
I want to say happy birthday, Vince, and that you guys really rock. I really think you guys are the best show out there. So I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. You take care, and
right.
Much appreciated. Take care. Thank you for sharing the story.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
All right, guys. We got a few more minutes left. We have probably time for one more, maybe two more callers. If you want to go ahead and get in, I know there's a few people asking how to call. Just go ahead. You can call any of those numbers. Just make sure you use the codes in succession. It's you have to do a pound after the numbers, and look at that. Right when I say that, we got a caller. Let's go to the lines, see who we got here. Caller, you are on the air with Vince and Josh on Conversations on the Fringe. What is your name, and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name's Gwen, and I'm calling from Mount Shasta, California.
That is a hot spot. Oh my God, I love Mount Shasta.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different here. Yeah.
I bet we're about to hear some cool stories.
Okay, so I moved to Florida, and I was off and on seeing this psychic for years that was actually telling me things.
Gwen, can you do me one? Can you do me one favor? Mute the background.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it.
Oh.
You're playing the show in the background. I can hear the show in the background.
I'll just turn it off, I guess. Oh, wait. There. Okay.
Perfect.
So, in Florida, I went to the Edgar Cayce Institute, and I started just studying different yoga and meditation.
ARE.
And,
Was it ARE?
I don't remember the name of it. That was years and years ago.
Okay.
But I started taking yoga from different types of people, and it was a really metaphysical time in my life there. And I went to this one lady who taught me how to leave my body and meditate and turn my whole body colored, red. So by the time it got to my head, I was all that color. And I completely lost my body. So then I went out on the ocean and came back. And then after that, I started doing it myself at home. Well, one time I was getting ready to go to work, and I told myself what time I had to be to work. And I went in my meditation, and then all of a sudden I was over all these different people and looking down at them. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I realized I didn't have my body. So I went perfectly backwards and went whoosh into my body, lifted up to a sitting position, and I was exactly late for work.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
So I actually knew what I had done, and it really scared me. So I kind of stopped doing
Did you experience any humming or vibration in the body or sensation around the body when this was happening?
I knew I was seeing and seeing things underneath me. But then when I came back into my body, I felt a huge energy just whoosh in.
Right.
And that's when
Crazy.
And ever since then, I haven't seen anything. And I kind of wish I really want to start doing more. I was also reading, what was her name? What was the name of it now? Darn it. Oh, I can't remember. It's these books by Jane Roberts, I think it was.
Okay.
And Seth Speaks. Have you ever heard of those books?
No, I haven't.
Oh, God, you should. And that was a long, long, long time ago. I was reading those, and it was all about, the universe being multi-level, and that you could be three different entities at once if you knew what you could open that space and see it all.
Crazy.
And I was young, so I didn't really kind of understand half of what I was reading, but this entity came into Jane Roberts called Seth. And Seth started teaching her teaching other people, which was mostly her husband, about the universe.
Yeah, this is the oldest. It's like the old Ascended Master papers. I think I know what you're talking about there. I remember the name Jane Roberts doesn't really ring a bell, but it's like the old Ascended Master papers that we used to read back in the day. Gwen, thank you so much for calling in. We got a whole bunch more callers calling in right now. We have to get to the lines. We have. We're gonna go a little bit. Yep, we're gonna go a little bit over time tonight. So you guys stick with us, bear with us. We're gonna get through all of these callers, and then we'll head on to the Fringe After Dark afterwards. Thank you, Gwen, so much. You
love your show, you guys.
Thank you, Glenn. You take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. This is fun, dude.
This is fun. All right, let's go to the lines. Caller, you are live on the air. Conversations on the Fringe with Josh and Vince. What is your name and where are you calling from?
I am Joe, and I'm calling from Southern California.
Son of a gun. I know this guy.
Uh-oh. You know this guy.
Yeah, this is my brother.
Oh, no. Is he going to sing happy birthday for Vince?
I doubt it. How you doing, dude?
My girl sang for him earlier. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Doing
dude.
well. Doing well.
Thanks for calling.
For listening. Yeah, no problem. Happy birthday again.
Thanks.
So listening to the show tonight, a couple things, Spaceship Theory, and a couple good talking points. But I wanted to share a story about something I've pondered for years. It was probably 10 years ago, so I was like 21, 22, and I was at a cafe, and there was a guy there ranting. I'm pretty sure he was on drugs, but besides the point, he had some crazy theory about existence. And he had a theory that there was a force. And I've taken on the term the God force, right? Where essentially this being, this omnipotent being, wants to experience life and creates, like, in some sense, a simulation, blasting out this cosmic energy and putting a bit of itself everywhere, seeding this universe it created. Hence why we are all somehow oddly connected, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But basically wants to be able to experience feeling of love, hate, pain, anger, destruction, creation, life itself, just everything. And it was crazy listening to this guy describe it. He went into way more detail, but it was a very interesting theory and something that I think about sometimes, like, could he be right? Could
Dude,
there be a God force?
I've wondered the same thing about the crazy people just mumbling to themselves in the street, and they're just this, the crazy homeless person with gum in their hair. But really, what if they're just so more awake than all of us? They don't give a shit,
Well,
NPCs.
you have these
maybe.
Maybe. You have these you hear these stories of people having like near-death experiences and feeling oneness, or people on their LSD or ayahuasca trips, whatever, have these feelings of oneness with nature, with people, with everything, in a sense. And it's kind of like, is everything connected? But you could also flip that and say, if we're in a matrix, we're all wired up together and everyone's connected. So maybe that's what you're feeling,
right?
I would explain it.
Yeah. There's Star Wars. They talked about Vidiglorians, which are the field that life creates, that interconnection combines everybody. Wilhelm Reich in the 1940s, he was the lab assistant to Freud. He had a theory on Freud's libido theory that this was a microorganism that exists within all of us, and he called it orgone. And bions. Bions basically are these forces, these microorganisms that carry the life force known as orgone, and that they're attracted to water, and that you can reflect and refract them, and you can trap them and increase the life force, and it can produce healing. So it's not a far-off theory, and I think that there's a massive relevance to it. I mean, there's even in esotericism, you have what's known as the ether field. And in a lot of metaphysical studies, there's the thought that there's the God field. The God field is the conscious field. The conscious field is what gives rise to existence. Without consciousness in the universe, nothing in the universe would actually exist, because nothing would be observable to observe itself.
Shit.
Interesting.
But
interesting stuff. Deep.
Yeah, man.
Very.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the call, and it's good to hear from Vince's brother. We're starting to wonder. We're starting to wonder.
Thanks, Joe.
He lied about his family. He doesn't.
He lies about his family.
I'm an orphan.
He's an orphan. But Joe, thank you so much for calling, my friend. You take care, man.
Yeah, not a problem. Have a good night, guys.
All right.
Yeah, love you, bro.
Love you, bro. Bye.
Oh, that was awesome. We got a special gift from Vince's brother.
Right.
That's kind of awesome. Let's go to the lines.
That was cool.
Yeah, let's go to the lines. We got 2 callers waiting in queue. If you are waiting in queue, or if you are calling, we're going to try to get as many. We're going to go a few more minutes. If you do call after this point, we might not get to you. Depends on how long these callers are on for. But know that you guys can always join in on Fringe After Dark. So just letting you guys know that. Let's go to this caller right here. Caller, you are on the air with Josh and Vince, Conversations on the Fringe. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is John, and I'm from Covington, Kentucky. It's about 10 minutes from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right
Awesome.
on.
Kentucky, man. What's up? How are we doing tonight?
I am good. Just 2 little quick stories and then a question.
Yeah.
So, we talking about birds earlier. About 3 years ago, I lost my father, and it was about a month out after I had lost him, and I was just having a really bad day. And he had always said he was when he was growing up, my grandparents always told him when there's a cardinal around, that's a lost relative.
Mm.
And I was having just a terrible day, man. And I was about ready to break down, and I look out, and there was a cardinal there on our windowsill. And until I calmed down, it stayed there. And when I was better, it went away.
Huh.
I mean, literally, the moment that I looked up and felt better, it went away. And just a couple months ago, my nephew, so his grandson, he was 3 years old when my dad passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and now, like I said, it's been 3 years now. So Jonathan is now 5. So, but Jonathan was just talking away, and my mom asked him, she's like, "Who are you talking to?" And he says, "Paw." And my mom looked out, and on the windowsill there was a cardinal.
Oh my goodness, dude, that gives me chills. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's my 2 stories. And my quick question is, we all know that LBJ killed Kennedy. We all know it. And in the pictures, you see Lyndon Johnson smiling at all the other people. My question is, though, is Lady Bird's got an awful big smile on her face. Do you think she knew?
Yeah, absolutely. He's talking about the picture, which is the wink heard around the world, where LBJ is being sworn in. You have Jackie Onassis in complete despair, and LBJ is like winking to all of his friends like, we did it. A lot of people didn't know that LBJ actually, they were redoing the Oval Office, and Kennedy and Jackie had picked out different drapes and carpets, and LBJ, right before they left to Texas, had told the designer to change them and make them what he wanted instead of what Kennedy wanted.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Kind of crazy stuff. But, hey, man, I appreciate the call. Thank you for those. That's a crazy story. Thank you for those stories.
I love it.
Much appreciated for your call and for watching us, man.
Yes, sir. You all have a good night.
You too, my friend. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Caller, you are live on the air. Conversations on the Fringe with Josh and Vince. Where are you calling from, and what is your name?
I am calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and my name is Carol, and I have a ghost story.
Ooh, Carol, I want to hear it. Tell me it.
I also, by the way, have an invisible cat you both may have seen on the Social World Project recently.
Oh.
Invisible cat?
It was the Find the Cat picture.
Oh.
Saw me before I saw it.
In the dark, I call him Invisible Cat. Anyway,
Nice.
this is pretty quick story from my childhood. Some holiday, I don't know when, kids are at grandma's house. 2 youngest kids looking for toys. They pull a Ouija board out of the closet. And one of my uncles starts wigging out. And he's like, "Oh, why do we have that? I thought we burned that. Oh, my God." And he looks at his brother and then starts saying things like, "Hey, do you remember when it knocked the picture of Roberto Clemente off the wall? Oh, yeah. Remember the rocks that flew out of the I don't know, that flew out of the sky?" And they start talking about what could only be a classic poltergeist haunting.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going through story after story, and they're scaring the hell out of me and my cousin, who were probably like 9 and 10. So we go running to our grandmother to make them stop. And, they're lying to us. They're telling me these ghost stories that, they're telling us this happened. And my grandmother is like mild-mannered, never raised her voice. She was like, "Oh, no, that's true." And what I find like most interesting, and the reason this has stuck with me all these years is because, there's all these stories about what this ghost did, and it went on for a very long time until something happened that pissed off my grandmother, like knocked things over, and she just got really angry. And like pointed to the ceiling and said, you know who you are. Get out and never come back. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
Yeah, that sticks with me.
Oh,
that's how to deal with ghosts, people.
Dang, and it never came back after that, huh?
It never came back, no.
Wow, crazy. Well, I appreciate the stories. Thank you for calling.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it there. Oh,
Yeah, look forward to your posts.
I hate being scared. I hate poltergeist. Oh man,
that stuff is scary.
I wish I could. Maybe I should record my uncles and actually get the stories. But I remember like
that would be cool.
Years, like, 'cause this, you know what? I need to do that because like one of my uncles is my grandmother actually was. She would see one time she saw somebody walk down the hall, and she assumed it was, there were 6 kids,
right.
She assumed it was her middle son. And then it turned around and looked at her and it wasn't. And then it just sort of faded off. So like there's those kind of stories. I should probably record them. But yeah. It was like, I don't remember all the stories they told when we were kids, but I do remember they scared the hell out of us. And then later on, I was watching some, Halloween special movie, and it was like, oh my God, that's what happened at Grandma's house.
Oh my God.
It was classic poltergeist.
Oh, damn. Oh man.
Well, and then my uncle and my grandmother, I think that was the other like cautionary tale, is that my grandmother said she believed whatever they let in the house, they let in because they were playing with the Ouija board, which is why my uncle wigged out when the 5-year-old pulled it out of the closet.
Yeah, those things are dangerous. Well, thank you so much for your call. We got one more caller in the queue, and I think that'll just be it for the night. But thank you so much for everybody who's called in tonight. We're gonna bring this caller in, and let's do this. The final call of the night. And let's see what they have to say. Hello, you are live on the air. Conversation on the Fringe with Vince and Josh. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, hello there. My name is Steve. I'm from Schenectady, New York.
What's up, Steve? How we doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. How are you doing?
Oh, doing fantastic. Schenectady. That's my neck of the woods. I'm from Rochester.
Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't expect you to be so close.
Well, I live in Denver, but originally from Rochester. But what's your story? I'd love to hear this.
Well, I won't get into too much about myself. I just wanted to actually talk to you guys about like what you guys like. I'm brand new to your stream here.
Okay.
I just wanted to see, frankly, I'm a pretty blank slate as far as it goes politically. Like I could go either way. So I just thought I'd call in and have you try to convince me that your political views are right. Is that okay?
That my political views are right. Well, I'm kind of apolitical, man. Yeah. I'll be honest. I mean, I kind of tend to look at things in various perspectives, and especially from.
I guess we agree then.
Yeah. That you have to. You can't set yourself on one track in life, right? You can't look at one thing and deny the other. You can't look at the left and you can't be on the left and deny the right. You can't look at the right and deny the left.
Yeah.
You have to take in the best of both aspects, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel too. It's like functionally, like both sides of the argument have value, right? Like there are times to conserve, there are times to use, there are times to like use things for societal use, there are times to use things for military use. Like, you know what I mean?
That's right. And
there's times.
See, the thing is kind of like to rephrase your statement there is I don't need to convince anybody that my political views are right. My political views are my political views, right? And so in the world that we live in, is the right that I have. And see, the thing is I look at that in the sense that as long as my rights are preserved through the people that represent me, I will support them. The moment that the people that represent me start infringing or taking away, limiting, restricting those rights, I stop supporting them. And it doesn't matter if they're GOP or DNC, if they're conservative or they're liberal.
Okay.
And I think that's a lot what we see today in society.
So what rights do you feel as though you have seen being infringed upon?
So just the other day, they passed a $1.5 trillion spending bill. Within that bill, they put in Section 1101. This is the NICS Denial Act of 2022, which basically opens up an investigation into anybody who's denied through the NICS system to purchase a firearm. Now, this normally would be a good thing, and a lot of people would applaud this type of regulation. But the problem is we give the government way too much overreach. Now, here's the thing, and from Gun Owners America, when we start looking at the statistics, you have 27% of all the NICS admissions that go out there. If you go to purchase a firearm, you have to get a background check. That background check goes to the NICS system. 27% of all of those are denied. Okay, 27%. That's a large number, are denied. Now, here's the thing, is from the research from Gun Owners of America, they found that 99% of all those denials are false positives. Okay? So 27% of the people that apply get denied, and 99% of that 27% are false positives. And so now they just passed a bill.
Do they not have an appeal system?
Well, but listen to what the bill says. Is the
I
bill?
mean, do they not have serious question?
They
do.
They
An
do.
appeal system?
They do. So normally, before this bill was passed, there's an appeal system where you'd go out and appeal, and I think it's about 50% of the appeals actually get approved. Now, here's where the problem lies with what they just did. Is now when you get that denial, 99% of all denials are false positive. An investigation is opened by the ATF, and they hire the local police and lawyers to investigate you, including going out to your social media, checking your social media posts. They go out there, they do mental health checks, they'll show up at your house. Okay, but see, here's the problem.
Quite frankly, I would have already expected that to be part of the background check, to be quite frank.
Well, I wouldn't. And see, the background check is non-intrusive. See, you can't not violate somebody's Fourth Amendment rights in order to check if they're guaranteed their Second Amendment right.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being argued, I guess. Like, truthfully, I don't see that it is necessarily doing that, but I could see how you could argue that partially. Like, I could see where you're coming from, but I don't fully agree that it's like that intrusive to have someone have to like inspect like. Not.
Well, let me ask you this:
like,
what part of shall not be? Hold on.
Like,
what part of shall not be infringed? Do we not understand? Right? Think about it. So think about this, and so you can go. So what part of shall not be infringed doesn't make sense?
Oh,
right. So what part of shall not be
Did I do
infringed?
that right?
Yeah, you're good. I got you.
Okay. So wait, I apologize. What was the question?
So here's the thing: is the Second Amendment states. Okay, Joe Biden just recently came out and talked about the Second Amendment and said, during that time they couldn't own cannons. Snopes actually did a piece on this and said Joe Biden was actually wrong, and that they fact-checked him on that.
Why would they not be able to own cannons?
That's right. Is actually during the Revolutionary War, there was a group of rebels who basically there's a group of rebels that actually took to the seas and utilized piracy. And they needed cannons in order to defeat the British navies. So actually, the founding fathers did mean that you needed the weapons of a time in order to fight against a rebellion or to secure a rebellion or to even rise up against a tyrannical or oppressive government to defeat them. So anything that infringes upon my ability to purchase a firearm or to get a firearm or have the weapons at the time is an infringement. And that infringement has been massively overreached for the last 100 years by our government, who have limited us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess I can see definitely, I can kind of see the argument here. And I mean, that's the part about this that always bothers me, is that I can always see both sides of every argument with these kind of things. When it comes to this, on some level, isn't it better for us as a society to be more safe about it and catch the few people that may actually need to fail that test?
More safe?
The screening and stuff.
More? Did you say more safe?
Having yeah, I mean, it's just and that's where it comes down to.
So Benjamin,
how many people are getting it for home safety?
Okay, so Benjamin Franklin
getting it just to go shooting just for fun.
One of the founding fathers of our country, Benjamin Franklin said, "Those who give up freedom for security shall get neither. Okay, so when we start looking at safety, right? Here's the thing about safety. Did you just see the recent video from Tel Aviv of a radical Muslim Islamist who was walking around stabbing people on the street? Okay, this guy was just out there stabbing. He stabbed about 14 people, killed a few of them. One man found him.
That's pretty wild, dude. Just going out there and stabbing people.
That's right. Now, why aren't we banning butter knives and steak knives? What about the guy
Where did this happen?
This was in Israel. What about in the guy that was in Minnesota that drove through the parade? Why aren't we banning cars? Why aren't we doing psychological evaluations before they buy vehicles? So
with how militarized the police is in Israel, I'm very surprised that happened.
Well, guess what? He was shot by someone who had a concealed carry firearm. Okay? Because people who are responsible gun owners know what they're doing, as well as that helps curb a rebellion.
I feel like, to live in that area of the world, you literally kind of need to be armed.
Well, how about this? To live in this country, you need to be armed. It's a prerequisite for being an American.
Country's a big place. I feel like that could be that's an argument that definitely.
It's not an argument. It's built within our. It's not an argument. It's built within our culture. It's built in the contract with our government. It's the Second Amendment of the United States of America, which is basically the preservation of those constitutional freedoms through our government representatives. That's kind of what that means. It's not. It's built into the foundation, the cultural aspect of our civilization, of our country at least. And that it wasn't until the 1960s that civics class went away, that gun ownership classes and so forth started going away from school, that it started being removed from our culture. And that makes a lot of sense now compared when we start looking at that of what is actually happening in unraveling today.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I really don't know much. Have much as far as like an opinion on these kind of things personally. When it comes to these kind of things, like, I understand. Truthfully, my place my opinion as far as the Second Amendment is concerned is that, like, if literally everybody is armed, then it becomes a different situation.
Yeah, nobody's going to screw with anybody.
Well, yeah.
Let's.
That's the thing.
But do a hypothetical situation here.
Literally everybody.
But do a hypothetical situation here. A gun is also a physical deterrent when you wear it on your hip and open carry. Now, do a hypothetical situation here. A radical gunman or knifer walks into a room full of people who are armed to the teeth, who are having pistols on their hip. Do you think this guy's going to do anything there? No. This is why they go to gun-free zones. This is why they go to schools. This is why they go to grocery stores in liberal cities that have restrictions on where you can carry a firearm. Okay? They don't go to the places where guns are. They go to the places where guns aren't. So if the whole population was armed to the teeth, nobody's going to come here. That's nothing. You're going to have a reduction in crime. Absolutely. And statistically, over and over and over, you've seen this.
But the way that I'm trying to say is that if everybody is, but that's not a feasible thing to really get to. So, like, at the state that we're, like, logically able to get to, where it's just a decent portion of people have guns, like, then it just doesn't work the same. Then you still have the kind of things that you're talking about, where, like, there are places where, like, people can just choose to go where they're, like, they know people are vulnerable. Like, they can go into a hospital, you know, like, they can do these kind of things. Like, they know, like, they can know, like,
but the other part of this,
somewhere with, like, armed security. Like, they know, like, where the security is. You know what I'm saying?
But Joel, here's the part that you have to express. Is it doesn't matter the weapon, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's a knife, whether it's a gun, whether it's a bomb. These people will find a way to produce terror because, in a sense, they are mentally ill. We're not doing psychological evaluation. No, hold on. We're not doing psychological evaluations to buy a vehicle. We're not doing psychological evaluations to buy a knife. We're not banning people from buying knives or vehicles. We're not banning them from buying the materials to build bombs, but we want to do it for guns. Why? Because there's an underlying constitutionality of the right for people to protect and defend themselves. And here's the thing, is you can increase the crime rates, you can cause more chaos, more turmoil, and even have a color revolution in this country if you get rid of the guns. And look at every major country that has had a genocide, that has had a world war, Nazi Germany, Maoist China, Stalin's Russia, it doesn't matter. The first thing they did at Cuba is they took away the guns before those things happened. Now here's the thing, is gun ownership, or the right to self-defense and self-protection, is inherent within the human being, because there are people out there who don't give a shit who you are, what you stand for. They want power and authority over you, and they'll stop at nothing to get it. Hey man, this was great. Vince, I know you got some final talk here, but Joel, we got to go, man. We're about 6 minutes out from another show, so we got to go. But thank you for your call, and appreciate you, my friend. And please keep on listening. Listen to the Daily Dose. You're going to learn a lot more about these issues, and you can also comment in and join the social.
I'll call back at some point.
Awesome. You take care, my friend. Be well.
I hope you all have a wonderful life.
Thank you, dude.
Be well. Bye. All right, everybody. That was an interesting call. Not a lot of politics on this show. Not usually what I want to talk about in the sense of politics, but yep, that was a fun conversation. All right, guys. Much love, respect. God bless. We're gonna happy birthday, Vince. Everybody, happy birthday, Mr. President.
I appreciate that, Josh.
All right,
and all of you out there. You guys all rock.
Yeah. So we're gonna be going to Fringe after dark. Give me 15 minutes. I need 15 minutes. So quarter till. We're going to open up Fringe After Dark. If you want to get in on that, go to Social Red Pill. Check it out there. But, guys, yeah, absolutely. We're going to be Fringe After Dark. So 15 minutes from now, so quarter till the hour is when we're going to go live with that. I hope all of you guys that are out here join the Social Red Pill, and you say, I want to join Fringe After Dark, and we'll get you in there. We'll put the link out in the chat. So if you guys want to join it, we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to bring in a few friends in the Zoom. Much love, respect. God bless you guys. Take care. Everybody else, we'll see you guys on the flip side. Happy birthday once again, Vincey. Thank
you.
Good night, everybody.